top of the morning, and it is a beaut.
And the hope of the Irish as the future champion of the world.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio.
Welcome to the Barry J. McDonald podcast. The place where dreams get dusted off and acted on. Because life is too short. We're living on a rock that's flying through space, and hey, what the hell else were you going to do with yourself here?
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode. Now, before we go further, I just want to share a quote. I'm going to the top of the mountain. You'll either see me waving at the top or dead on the side of it. But I'm not coming down. Now, that quote was by Eric Warr, and I read it recently in one of Stephen Seabold's books, and it made me think, and it made me also chuckle, because when you hear that quote, the fact that somebody's going to climb this mountain, and if they don't make it to the top, they're going to be dead on the side of it, but they're not coming down, kind of makes you think for a moment about your own life and, you know, how determined you are to reach your goal. But it also makes me smile because, you know, there is so much stubbornness in that quote. You know, somebody is so determined to get there. In fact, it made me brought a picture of my mind of when my kids were small, when they were toddlers. I don't know if you have any young kids in the house, but I'm sure there has been moments where maybe one of them has put something into their mouth, and, you know, you see the parents saying, "What did you put in your mouth?" And the child won't say anything. And then you say to them, "Open your mouth and let me see what you put inside." And again, they refuse to. And then, you know, you find the parent have to grab the child and try to ram their finger into these kind of prized jaws to find out what's inside, and kind of poke around with their finger and see if they can scoop out that coin or whatever the child picked up off the floor and put in their mouth. And, you know, that quote brought me back to those moments when my kids were small, and having to be in situations like that where my son and my daughter were just stubbornly kind of looking at me and refusing to do what I wanted to do. You know, they were doing what they wanted to do. And sometimes when it comes to stubbornness, you know, it's kind of painted with a negative, you know, it's painted negatively. You know, you'll hear probably things as you're growing up, "Oh, he's so pig-headed." Or again, you'll have kids saying, "Oh, you're not the boss of me." Or sometimes you'll have people say to you, "Well, you know, she always gets the last word," or "he always gets the last word," as if, you know, this stubbornness is something that isn't right, that you shouldn't do it, that you should be open to everyone, that you shouldn't be so kind of, you know, set on a path. And I think as we get older, you know, we kind of look at stubbornness as something negative, as something that we shouldn't be doing, that we should kind of let it go. We should fit in with the crowd. We should, you know, not be such a party pooper or be so set in our ways. And again, sometimes, you know, when we are faced with maybe peer pressure, for example, maybe if you were on a diet and losing weight and everybody was on the diet, and then slowly your friends kind of drops out one by one, and then you are the last person on the diet. You are the one that's solely focusing on your calories, you're working on your exercise, you're doing things consistently, you're stubbornly kind of working with that. You know, you'll find your friends then putting pressure on you, saying, "Oh, you need to relax a little. You know, you shouldn't be so hard that you're exercising every day. You know, you should deserve, you know, why don't you sit down and have this dessert after this dinner, or, you know, have a few drinks, or do this." And, you know, because they have no kind of maybe commitment themselves, they look at your stubbornness and your kind of work commitment as a bad thing, and they use it against you, and they make you feel guilty if they say, "Well, you know something, maybe I am being a party pooper, maybe I am being too focused." And then you kind of relax the reins on your diet, and before you know it, you're back with everybody else, and you're all weighing the exact same as you did before on the scale. So sometimes people can use stubbornness against us, and again, that is probably another reason why we don't use it as often, because of those negative aspects, you know, where people say to us, "Oh, you're so headstrong, you know, why are you so inflexible?" You know. And again too, maybe if you're, you know, doing something like writing fiction or something like that, you know, if you lock yourself away for a couple of hours a day to do some writing, you know, and people can't get in touch with you, or, you know, you're not watching the latest box set on Netflix, or you're not going out to the clubs, or you're not drinking, drinking, or you're not doing this or that with your friends, again, you're seen as the odd one. You're the, oh, she's the writer, or don't call her because she's solely wrapped up in that. And again, it's also seen as a kind of negative thing. But I think, that we should be using our stubbornness more. We should be using it to power ourselves along, to, disregard what our friends. Now, not unless maybe it's really affecting your relationships with maybe your family, if you are putting your marriage at risk, or if you're just neglecting your children because you're solely committed on something, well then, there are some negative aspects to stubbornness. But stubbornness can really help you out, where you stubbornly fix out a map of what you want to do. I am going to weigh this certain amount of weight this time next year, or I'm going to make this certain amount of money, or I'm going to write a certain amount of pages of fiction every day, or I am going to do so many blog posts or podcasts or whatever, and have this path fixed out and stubbornly fixed to it, because you've got a goal that you want to go to. Having stubbornness like that can be really, really helpful and power you along. But again, a lot of people, the people around us, probably 99% of the people around us have no goals, they aren't dedicated to anything. They just kind of float along and just kind of follow the crowd, follow what's on TV, follow what's on social media, and they've got no direction at all. They're just kind of bobbing around with the crowd. And here you come along, with your kind of set path, working away diligently every day, and you're seen as the oddball. So if you do maybe see stubbornness as a negative thing, I would say to you, maybe it's time to dust off that kind of idea and maybe use it more. Stubbornly say to yourself, well, something, I am not going to accept my weight at this weight anymore. I refuse to live my life only making this certain amount of money. I refuse to continue to live in this house, or I refuse to live in this, whatever it is. And by you refusing to do it and stubbornly stamping your foot on the ground and saying, I am not taking this anymore. This is where things change, and stubbornly walking in a direction, or working in a direction, or whatever you need to do to get yourself toward that goal. That stubbornness can be really, really brilliant and can power you all along. So what I would say to you is, if you are maybe feeling a little bit unmotivated, a little bit uninspired, and maybe not happy with where you are right now, it could be time maybe to think about stubbornness. Think about how you can use it. And again, as I said, you will find that when you stubbornly stick to one path, doing actions over again, maybe not being available as much to your friends, or not maybe be able to join them for the drinks or the diet or whatever, you will see that the closest friends will turn on you. They will mock you. They will point their fingers at you, and they will, try their very, very best, sometimes purposely, sometimes unconsciously, to drag you down, to bring you back to the group, because you having some success, you getting ahead of them, makes them have to question themselves. It makes them have to look at their lives and say to themselves, something, she lost that weight, she kept it off, or he made that money, and look at me, we grew up together, we have the same education, and he's light years ahead of me. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for those people to look at their own lives when they see how far you've gone, and they will try their best to drag you down. They will try to drag you back, so you are back in the little group, and everybody can be happy, everybody can be content, because nobody is showing anyone else up. So if you are finding maybe things are, you can't just get the motivation, you're finding it's hard to get committed, see if you can dust off that, that stubbornness you had in you when you were a toddler, when nobody was the boss of you, when you refused to open your jaws to let a parent take something out of your mouth. Dust that off and use that power, and try and power yourself ahead, to stay committed, to do the work every day, to lose the weight, to do whatever actions you need to do, and use your stubbornness to get there. And don't see it so much as a negative thing, because it could be the superpower you really, really need right now. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Before you go, Barry would like to give you a free copy of Words to Wealth. In it, he's going to show you 10 ways to make money from writing. Head on over to writecome.com now for your copy. Have a great day and come back soon.